2021. Hello y'all and welcome back to my channel. I'm super excited to be back on my channel to give you guys my little rundown of my January to be reads. You know how everybody has that, new year, new me vibe of reading more. So this year I have a very ambitious goal of reading at least 5 books a month with a goal of 7 books ideally, at least one, but no more than 3 of those 7 books being audiobooks. That is very ambitious, and as you can see, I'm starting off this year hot, but I also have 3 audiobooks that I'll be sharing as well. Let's get into it. It's really late right now. It's almost 2:45 a.m. and I'm recording this right now, and everybody's mad asleep, so I gotta be quiet. So for my first book, is Stephen King's Rita, Hayworth, and Shawshank Redemption. This is actually part of I believe it's a 3 or 4 part novella called Different Seasons. This book is pretty much centered around this character, Anthony DeFresney, who is seemingly wrongfully accused of murdering his wife and the man that she had an affair with. I cheated a little bit. I actually started this book in December, and I'm a little more than halfway through. I haven't finished it yet. But from where I am right now, I don't know how Stephen King be. He has a way of starting a book one way and completely and unpredictably ending it a different way. Even right now, I'm a little bit over halfway, like I said, and it's already going so differently than what I thought it would be. So I have no idea how this book is gonna end, and I'm really interested in how the other stories are gonna fit into this narrative. But obviously there must be a method to his madness, because it's Stephen King. So for my next set of books I'm gonna be reading the Crank trilogy by Hopkins. And so in my hands I only have 2 of the books. This one I have to check out from the library, which is the first book, Crank. The second book is Glass, and I have to check that out once I return this one. And Fallout, which is the 3rd and last book of the trilogy, I actually happen to already own it because my sister owns this book. And so Hopkins is a very interesting writer. So first off, how her books are written, they're written as poems. So they might seem like massive books, but there's not that much writing in them, because they're literally written as poems, each page. And her books are intense, bro. I read 2 of her other books in the past. I've read Tricks and Identical, and they are mad intense. They're mad intense. So pretty much the Crank series is pretty much following the narrative of this girl named Christina and her encounters with Crank or Glass or whatever you want to call that drug. And it pretty much just follows her lifetime. It follows her from the first book in Crank, where she first encounters and gets a first hit of that drug. Second book, her life develops completely differently. And then the 3rd book, I believe, it follows her into motherhood, where she has her kids who are also very much hooked on the same drug because she was so dependent on the drug too. Like I said, her books are intense, and I can even say they're scary, and it's even scarier because she usually, correct me if I'm wrong, but she usually bases her books off of real people, or they're very deeply inspired by real people, which makes it 10 times more surreal. So yeah, I'm excited to read them, but I'm also anxious to read them too, because I know how deep and gutty it's gonna get. So that's that trilogy. So the next book, I don't know if I mentioned this before I talk about this 3rd book. I'm not listing these in order in which I'm gonna read them. I'm just listing them in the order I had them stacked in this pile next to me. But anyways, the 3rd book I'm gonna read is When No One Is Watching. So I actually randomly picked up this book while I was at work. It just looked interesting when I picked it up. I didn't really know what it was about until I saw the thing in the back once I got home. So what drew me to this actually is that I saw the cover look cool, and I previewed the first 3 pages, and I really dig this author's style of writing, because she writes the way I talk. So I was not only is this a thriller, but she's also has mad relatable colloquial lingo and stuff. So I was I think I can really rock with this book. So what this book is about, or what I gather it's going to be about, is about her living in a neighborhood. Because how the book starts out is that she's pretty much on this tour where she's walking through a super gentrified neighborhood. She's pretty familiar with the area and with the actual history of it, but now it's been kind of wiped out with, the new settlings, the new buildings, the new crowds, the new demographics and stuff like that. So again, because it's a thriller, what I gather is that people start disappearing, and I guess they do say that in the summary, but people do start disappearing, and so they don't really know what's going on. At least that's what I'm gathering from the summary. I read the book yet. I could be completely off base. But yeah, I love me a good thriller. I hear good things about Alyssa. I really hope this book lives up to the hype. Next book is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I'm going to sit here and be frank, I have zero clue what this book is about. So one of my favorite out-of-print bookstores in the city that I live in carried this book, and I'm really close with the owners, and we talk about like, you know, me getting into classics and books that I should get, and so they just gave me like a nice, you know, very robust reading list. And Great Expectations was on there, and I've actually heard of this book before too. I just don't know what it's about, but it's supposed to be apparently really great. So let me just quickly read the little sidebar and see what it could possibly be about. I just read this summary and I have no idea what this book's gonna be about. It's not telling me much. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I think it's one of those things where I kind of have to read it or get started with it to see where it's gonna go, because I'm not really picking up what this summary is putting down. But this is a classic, and it's also in the modern library, so it must be a really great book. And the bookstore owners also recommended it to me, so I assume that it's going to be great. So I will take y'all words for it that it's a great book, and I will read it, and I will come back at the end of the month and tell y'all how I felt about it. Next book is Anxious People. I also picked this up the same time when I bought When No One Is Watching. I heard that this book is actually mad funny and super, super heartfelt, and I love me a wholesome book. And it's a nice little way to like unwind from like, you know, really serious topics and stuff. So I'm really excited for what this book's gonna be about. And again, I also don't know much about the summary about this book. I just seen a whole bunch of other people's TBRs from previous months, and they've read this and they said that it was just such a good book, super heartwarming, super cute read. From what I'm gathering from the little side things, I've seen little blurbs of like, you know, real estate, robbers, crime, whatever. Like, I have no idea. 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. I'm really excited to get into this. And then for my last physical book, it is none other than Promised Land by Barack Obama. So let me start off by saying that this book is extremely heavy and extremely hard to get your hands on. Ooh, I didn't even peep the back of the cover of this book. Yo, check this out. Isn't that dope? I hope you guys can see this. It's mad dope. So I was really excited about reading this book because I've actually read one of his previous books, The Dreams of My Father. Super great read. He's an amazing writer. I really, really commend him for his writing. And so I guess what pretty much drew me to picking up this book too is that I read Becoming by Michelle Obama last year. And so I imagine that I'm going to see a little bit of parallels between their stories. I can't imagine that this is a book about his entire life. I imagine that this book is pretty much just detailing his presidency, because again, Dreams of My Father does detail his life quite a bit, and he does have a few other biographies about him. So I don't think his upbringing will be talked about too much in this book. I think this really strictly will follow mostly his politics and his presidency. So yeah, this is a presidential memoir. So that yeah, it definitely is just going to follow his presidency, which I am very curious to hear about because I do admire him as a human being, as a politician, as a humanitarian. And so I definitely am interested in hearing his account on what he thought of his own presidencies and see some reflections on his own decisions. And yeah. Now on to my audiobooks. So I currently use Audible as my platform for audiobooks, and I know I shouldn't be using Audible. And I haven't found a platform that I like yet for audiobooks that isn't audiobook or Audible. I don't know, maybe I wasn't trying hard enough. So I guess one of my other goals on top of my actual literary goals is to find a more ethical audiobook platform to use. But for now, I'm using Audible. And I have 3 books that I would like to listen to. First audiobook that I will be listening to is Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain. So Anthony Bourdain is actually within my top 50 most influential people to me. I really, really admired his lifestyle. I really admired his approach to learning. I really admired his approach to picking up skills and just getting experience. And it's a very fun narrative to watch. And again, you guys know me, and from the mission that I try to push on my channel, I love non-linear life narratives, and his life was very much non-linear. So I think the cool thing about this book, and again, I cheated. I've already started listening to this book, and I actually am significantly underway in the book. But I really appreciate how like it's a really cute blend of like an autobiography slash experience in the kitchen, like in the culinary world, slash tips on how to cook, slash tips on how to pick restaurants type of thing. It's just super dope. It's a really nice blend, and he's mad funny. Like he's just so raw and so forward and so blunt and so unfiltered. Yeah, it's a very entertaining book. I'm kind of sad that I'm actually almost done. I only have 2.5 hours left of it. He has other books. I think I'm gonna go ahead and read and listen to some of them in later months, but very entertaining, really excited to finish it. The second book that I'm going to listen to is Maps of Meaning by Jordan Peterson. So I had started listening to it a long time ago. I didn't finish it, and so I'm starting over now to start from the beginning and listen to the end again. Pretty much what I gather this book to be about is like him describing the meaning of certain things and how those meanings have influenced our belief systems. And that's pretty much all I've gathered so far from it. It's a hard book. It's a hard book to follow, and I've read a lot of reviews that you need to give this a thorough couple listens and really slow down and really be intentional about listening to the words, because first of all, the jargon is off the walls, and secondly, there's just a lot of they're like obvious concepts, but also not concepts that you really ponder upon enough to be like, huh, I should really challenge that. Yeah. See how that shifts my mind. The last book I hope to listen to this month is also a classic, which is called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. What really drew me to Meditations is the summary of the book, and it's, for me, I'm taking this year in particular as a very transformational year. I really want to slow down and take myself all the way back to the fundamentals. I want to be able to restructure my entire belief system, restructure my entire core values, restructure exactly who I am and how I've decided to orient myself into the world, because I feel like it's important for me to feel rooted in something, because right now I kind of just, for the last while I've kind of just been all over the place, and so I really want to be rooted in something real. And so I'm going to read the entire summary for you guys, because this book seems like the bee's knees. Written in Greek by the only Roman emperor who was also a philosopher, without any intention of publication, the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius offer a remarkable series of challenging spiritual reflections and exercises developed as the emperor struggled to understand himself and make sense of the universe. While the Meditations were composed to provide personal consolation and encouragement, Marcus Aurelius also created one of the greatest of all works of philosophy, a timeless collection that has been consulted and admired by statesmen, thinkers, and readers throughout the centuries. Tell me this book is not meant to change my life. Tell me this book is not meant to change my life. I'm just really excited because, again, I'm really, really looking to completely transform how I view myself. I completely transform how I plan to navigate the world. And so, again, I'm going to say this again and again in every single video from now on. I am bringing myself back to the fundamentals and completely rebuilding this from scratch. Stop, like, exactly what he said, like having spiritual reflections, trying to gain an understanding of myself. Like that is very, very, very important for me right now. And this book, not only by the summary in and of itself, is already just vibrating in me, but I've also talked to a lot of people who have read this book, and they also agree that this was pretty transformative for them as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. But yeah, that is my January reading list. My plan is, these are the books I'm going to read. If I happen to come across another book that I find to take more precedence over these ones, I must swap it out. But I will come back at the end of the month and tell you which books I actually did read and what I actually thought about them and what they were actually about, because I butchered a lot of these summaries. Thank you for watching. And let me know if you're going to be reading any of these books too. It'd be nice to know if there's somebody reading some of the same books along with me. We can reflect together, we can talk about them. we can, just a little bit about it, like whatever. Let me know. Happy reading.